Today, I'm doing an oil change. Like I said, oil change. This is going to be a part of a series that we're going to do here covering the base level fundamentals of what you should know for owning a car. It's going to be things like the oil change, which we're doing today, tires and their maintenance, basic driveline inspection maybe, brakes are really important, and a few other things along that line of thought that are just foundational. This series is what we're going to call FEATS, Foundational Elements of Automotive Technical Skills. Letters. This way, if you're a nerd, you'll get this, you can level up your knowledge. Anyway, while I've been explaining all this, you probably noticed, I've already gotten started. So, the next step, lift the car so that you can see what comes next. Okay, we have the car in the air, which is a convenience for me, and so that we can show you, you don't have to do this. You can do this on the ground in your driveway, assuming that your local laws allow that. All you realistically need is a jack and a pan. These can be found at your local Harbor Freight, Northwestern Tools, parts house of choice, whatever. Just go there, tell them what you need, they'll hook you up. This first normal step is to take end wrench and place on what will be right here a plug, and then remove. It's not going to be but yay long. Very, very simple, no big deal. It shouldn't be super tight, but it will be a little bit. This, however, something that I'd like to point out and highly suggest. It is a valve made by the Fumoto company in Japan. It is a twist lock valve so that you can simply open and drain. Super easy, makes doing an oil change incredibly simple and less of a mess, and requires less tools. We're going to put a link in the description to where you can get them. They're not terribly expensive. The last time I looked, granted it was a few years ago, they were 20 or 30 bucks. Worth their weight all day long. We're going to pop the little cover off, set this over here where we'll absolutely forget about it later, and then open the valve, which I'm not going to do until I get the drain pan, so just give me a second. The reason why these things are so easy, and I suggest them so strongly, is you just lift and twist. It's that easy. The oil looks black, dark, gross, whatever. Don't be surprised by this. Don't worry, there's nothing wrong with your engine inherently or anything. Once oil has lived its life cycle, almost always it will turn dark. That's just what it does. It's carbon in the combustion and a whole bunch of yada yada science stuff that you may not care about, so we're not going to go into. If you do want to know, let me know. I'll be happy to ramble about it. Just don't want to bore you. So this is perfectly normal. We're going to let this drain out all the way, and once it's done, we'll close the valve and put the little locking thing back on. Then we're going to go up to the top and refill it. Except there's one step before we do that, and which is change the filter, which is up there. But that'll happen once this is done, because otherwise you make a huge mess. So now we wait. Alright. Clean up. Take your catch. Done. By the way, oil's usually hot when it comes out. Don't burn yourself. The oil is out of the engine. Now we got to remove the filter and put in the new one. These, on almost all modern cars, though not all of them, there is a different type, spin on. And this is going to make a mess and run down my arm and get oil in my freaking armpit. Yay. By the way, engineers who put the freaking oil filter at an angle like this can eat a rock. Take the old one out, set it there. Alright, next, despite the mess, I'm going to reach up in here and just clean off the mating surface and the threads of where your oil filter is going to go. This is to do two things. One, to make sure that the gasket, which is on the oil filter, has come off completely. Some of the rubber surface can get stuck, and then you got two rubber surfaces on top of each other, they don't mate, it leaks. So you want this to be clean. The next step is to take your new filter and your oil, pre-fill the filter as much as you can. This is going to make sure that the engine does not have any lack of oil whenever you first start it up. You've got to get the angle right. Just set it up there and spin it on. Just spin it on. The next most important thing, you've got your oil filter all the way up. It's starting to tighten up. Use one hand, possibly your offhand, if you happen to be mildly strong individual, and just get it as tight as you can with the one hand. Don't go bowing up on it. Don't get it crazy tight. Just good and snug. It will stay there, I promise you. One hand, that's all you need. Now we can go back to the top of the car and start filling it back up. Alright, last step. Put the oil in the engine. The most important takeaway here is two little facts. One, make sure that the number on the front of the bottle matches what's in your owner's manual, or on top of your oil cap. It should say it. And by the way, it's oil, not 710. If it says 710, flip it over. The numbers on the front of the bottle are referring to the effective viscosity of the oil at various temperatures, be it very, very cold or operating temperature. Oil has to operate correctly. So, your engine will have what it wants on the cap or in the book. And if that still doesn't tell you, call a dealership. They'll answer, or a parts house. They'll answer too. I'm getting way off in the weeds here. If you want to know in more detail, I will be happy to relay all the super nerddom to you. Just let me know. But you just take your funnel, which you can get at the parts house, and your oil, and pour it in. And if you'll notice, the oil is not black. It almost always will be a nice, clear, sometimes golden-y color, sometimes it's a little more watery. But you just pour it all in. And now we're done. By the way, make sure you're using a quality oil. It can be a variety of brands, Mobil 1, whatever. In our particular case, I'm using Amsoil. For one, because I am the dealer of it and get it for myself, cheap. Two, it's a really high quality oil. They put a lot of effort into making it operate at extremely harsh circumstances and still do the job of keeping the metally bits inside your engine from scraping against each other, because it's bad. This is their synthetics signature series. It's like the next to highest tier as far as quality goes. I think their Dominator Racing Oil is the top stuff. It's got like even more zinc and whatnot that you need to protect old school power cams and that sort of thing, or anything that's from way back in the day. Long story short, get quality oil. Just call up your parts house and don't buy the cheap crap. It's worth it. It's a good insurance policy. Now, we just have to check the dipstick, make sure that everything's all good, and we're done. Absolute last step is just pull the dipstick, look at the level, make sure that the oil is somewhere in the vicinity. Then you're going to start the car, just run it for 2 or 3 seconds, shut it off, wait 30 seconds to a minute, check the oil level one more time, and it should be dead on the mark, assuming that you put the correct amount of oil in it based on what your engine is. Your dipstick will look something like this. It's just a thin rod that goes down into the oil pan. It has 2 notches to show low and high, or little hash marks maybe, depends. You're just going to wipe it off, get it clean, put it in the hole, put it in the hole, put it all the way down, pull it back out again, and look at the level, and we are right on in the money. You see that the oil stops just at the top pip, so we're good. And that's all it takes. It's pretty simple, it's pretty straightforward, and everybody can do it. I mean, it's a job that you can do with anywhere from 0 realistically to 2 tools. Maximum you would need is the 1 wrench that you need for the oil plug and a oil filter wrench or pair of pliers just to grab it to give you some leverage so that you can turn it. The only other option would be a socket for the oil filter that looks like this. These are really good. It just sets against the bottom of the oil filter and you turn it off with a ratchet. With this, you can save yourself money and make sure that you take care of the engine, ensures a long and healthy life of motoring and shenaniganry. If you have any questions or concerns, feel free to get up with me, either in the comments, email me, Facebook, whatever, Twitter, Instagram, whatever. And if there's anything else that you would like to see in particular, give me a shout. We'll make a video on it, explain at least the basics, and do the things. Thanks.